Welcome to the Soul Craft Your Life podcast. My name is Carmen Marshall, and I'm a life design and manifestation expert, a 7-figure entrepreneur, wellness educator, and a dance teacher. And I'm passionate about helping you create a magical and fulfilling life. Whether you want to discover your purpose, learn how to attract financial abundance, or create more health, balance, joy, and connection in your life, the Soul Craft Your Life podcast has got you covered. 1 part strategy and 1 part soul. Each week we explore both the practical and the spiritual with intriguing experts and fascinating human beings, all sharing their wisdom to help expand what we think is possible for our own lives. The goal? To help you create a life you love on your own terms that stems from your soul. Let's dive in and discover what this life has to offer each of us. Hello, gorgeous souls. Welcome to episode 26. 2 things you absolutely must do to start 2024, or any year for that matter. But first of all, Happy New Year. I'm so excited about this year. Do you feel this way too? I just feel like this year is going to be really amazing, magical, impactful, and fulfilling. I feel like the last 3 to 4 years are behind us, and let us make it amazing, magical, impactful, and fulfilling. All right, let's get started. So this actually comes from, if you have followed me on my blog or if you're subscribed to my email list, I always share the ritual that I do before I set my goals for the next year. So it doesn't matter if you've already set your goals, you can still do these things that I'm going to share with you. The full ritual is actually on my blog, carmenmarshall.com/blog. So you can go through everything there, but I want to talk about the 2 most important things. So even if you've already set your goals, this is something that you can still do. If you haven't set any of your goals yet, go to my full blog and you can do everything there. All right. So number 1 most important thing, and there's 2 things that you absolutely must do. These 2 things will literally change how you manifest. Number 1 is celebrating. And this can be counterintuitive because sometimes we think, oh, there's so much I didn't do last year. There's so much now I want to do, but it's a really disempowering place to come from when you're setting your goals for the next year. So you actually want to look back first to see everything that you did do, all your accomplishments, everything that inspired you, your highlights, where you felt the most joy, the little things, the big things. And then from that place, set your goals. My clients always tell me this. When you taught me this, Carmen, this changed everything. Because previously I always felt guilty. I didn't do enough. I'm not enough. And then you're starting the year feeling like you're backtracking. And that's just not a good way to actually go into the year. I want you to get into a place of absolute awe of everything that you did do. And then from that place, set your intentions. So how do you celebrate? And how do you know what to celebrate? Well, I've made it really easy for you because I have the 8 soul craft life design categories. Now, those are also on my blog. You can see a really beautiful image, makes it super easy. The 8 categories are written out, but let me just give them to you right now through this podcast so you've got them in your mind as well. So the 8 Soulcraft life design categories are health and wellness, business and career, lifestyle and environment, recreation and adventure, contribution, finances and wealth, personal growth and spirituality, and relationships. So those are the 8 Soulcraft life design categories. So what you want to do is go back through 2023 and write all the highlights, the inspiration, the joy in all of those categories in a special journal. Now, a little tip, what makes it really easy to remember these highlights is to actually use your phone where all your pictures are. That's what I do. I go through my phone, the pictures from January to December, and I write all the highlights down in these categories. Then you can actually look at, oh my goodness, what a year I had. This is also so important because the years go by so quickly. So when you have this journal of all the highlights of every year, you can look back to your whole life because life passes us by so quickly. So not only will this help you set your goals from a really empowered place, it will also give you a record of all the highlights of each year. I've done this for 20 years, so I actually have 20 it's probably 22 actually, 20 documents of all the highlights of each year. So do this with your partner, do it with yourself, do it with a friend, do it with your kids, but it is such a different way of actually setting your goals from a place of awe, a place of accomplishment, rather than I didn't do enough. Energetically, you can really feel the difference from I didn't do enough last year to wow, I cannot believe all that I did last year. That's the place that you want to set your goals from. All right, so this is all on my blog, as I mentioned, so you can go and look at the beautiful image. You've got all the categories there, but take even 10 minutes to just write down the highlights, the successes, your favorite moments, your ahas, your inspiration when you were the most happy in those 8 categories. Then what you can do is you can then use those same categories to set 2 to 3 intentions for 2024. But before you do that, number 2 most important thing. So number 1 is celebrate. Number 2 is reviewing the lessons learned in 2023. And we absolutely have to do this. Why? Because if we don't do it, the universe is going to give us the same lessons this year, and we don't want to repeat the same lessons. It's so interesting how the universe, God, consciousness works. So universe and whatever you like to refer to it as, its whole goal is it wants us to be our most authentic, fully expressed version of ourselves. And the things that trigger us, the lessons that we learn, are all meant to heal the unintegrated parts of us that stop us from being our most authentic, fully expressed version of ourselves. So we want to welcome the lessons. We want to learn from them. We want to metabolize them, integrate them, so we don't have to repeat them. And you know what it's like? We all have these things that we're like, oh my goodness, like the same thing is happening again. And it's because we haven't learned the lesson. It's also such an empowering way to think of triggers, obstacles, things that I like to call them lowlights, things that come into our lives that we feel aren't exactly what we want. If we can actually look at them as the things that will actually help us grow, it's a much more empowering place to live. So think of this, anything that comes up, a trigger, an obstacle, fear, it's always helping to heal an unintegrated part of ourselves. And this is why there's books out there literally like the obstacle is the way. Your fear is telling you exactly where you need to go, what you should lean into. It's a really powerful and empowering way to live your life. Time for a quick commercial break. Are you ready to soulify, strategize, and uplevel your business in 2024 like never before? Soul Pro is my 12-month strategy and soul mastermind experience unlike anything you've been a part of, with advanced mentorship, consistent access to me, and the behind-the-scenes secrets and inner workings of my business, my lifestyle, and my mindset. Inside this small and intimate mastermind, I'm able to take a really individualized approach to supporting you in building a business that not only thrives, but it's also a reflection of your core desires and values. And not only will I be your ongoing business and lifestyle coach over the next 12 months and can guide you to living the life that you want, but you'll also be surrounded by a small, select group of like-minded, heart-centered, high achievers who will both inspire you and up-level you and your business. If you've been wanting this kind of strategy and soul mastermind, get on the waitlist to apply now because registration for Soul Pro 2024 opens January 19th and it doesn't open again until 2025. This is my most in-depth, up-close, and personal program where you're invited into my life and how I do business so that you too can create a business and a life that you love from consistent mentorship and way showing. So go to carmenmarshall.com/soul-pro. I'll put it in the show notes as well to get all the details and jump on the waitlist to apply for Soul Pro 2024. Okay, let's get back to the podcast. So how do you learn from the lessons of last year? So in that same journal, what's a really good thing to do is think of 3 to 5 to 10 lowlights of last year and just write them down. So anything that was maybe a disappointment, anything that you maybe felt you quote unquote failed at, but we never fail at anything. It's just something that didn't work, and anything that felt like a disappointment. Then what you want to do is think of the lessons that you learned from that. So it could have been a redirect. And I like to think of redirects as really protection. Like when you wanted something to work out and it didn't, there's a lesson to be learned there, as well as it's probably redirecting you to somewhere else as well, somewhere else that's better for you. And then what you want to do is not just the lessons that you learned, but how can you have the most empowering interpretation of that lesson? What I mean by that, when I learned this concept, well, there's two concepts actually. We are not our thoughts. We are the thinker of our thoughts. So we actually get to choose the thoughts that we think. We are not our thoughts. We are the thinker of our thoughts. We are the master of our thoughts. So that's number one. It totally changed my life when I learned that. Number two, when I learned that it's my interpretation of the event that makes the difference, my circumstance does not trap me. I'm not at the mercy of my circumstance. I'm only at the mercy of my interpretation, the meaning that I'm making of whatever it is. And I get to choose that meaning. So when you look at the lesson that you learned from whatever was the low light, what is the best interpretation that you can give it? The most empowering one, the one that makes you feel the best, the one that is actually going to help you get where you want to go. And you can even think of this, if you think of anything in your life, like let's say maybe a sales campaign didn't work out, or maybe you feel like you didn't do a speech well enough, or a reel flopped, or you had an argument with your husband or your best friend. We can either believe a very disempowering thing about that event, or we can look at the lesson learned and the most empowering belief that we can have about it that will actually help us be our most authentic, realized self. So again, we can choose to think, oh my God, I failed at that speech. Or, wow, I could have practiced a little bit more. Actually, I wasn't talking about something that was really authentically me. I didn't really share my heart. I was focused more on what I looked like rather than serving the audience. Like there's all these things that we can learn. Instead of thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm not meant to be a public speaker, that's not going to serve you. And it's so interesting because if it was a friend that we were coaching or a little child, we would never say things to them like, you're not good enough, like you just suck at speaking. You're never going to be a speaker. Instead, we would be helping them find the silver lining. We would be helping them find a good interpretation. So that's what we need to do ourselves, be our own coach and our own master of our thoughts that thinks, okay, what is the lesson that I learned? And what is the most empowering belief I can have about the situation? Because remember, you are the thinker of your thoughts and you get to choose the interpretation. So these two things will literally change how you set your goals. And they're so, so important. Number one, celebrating so that you're coming from this field. Remember, everything is energy. So you're coming from this field of inspiration, awe, confidence, like, oh my goodness, I did so much last year and I'm going to do so many more amazing things this year. So celebrating first. And then second, reviewing the lessons learned in 2023 so you don't have to repeat them, but also so that you can find the most empowering belief. Because remember, whatever we believe, we then take actions commensurate with that. And we're responsible for the things that we believe. So I hope that is so helpful for you. If you want to go deeper into this, again, be sure to visit my blog, carmenmarshall.com/blog. It's the most recent blog. I'll put it in the show notes, of course. Also, be sure to jump on my email list because you always get special emails that go a little bit deeper, carmenmarshall.com/subscribe. And I hope this has really helped you. I love to hear your comments. If you want to go deeper in any way, let me know. Let me know what worked. Let me know if anything was confusing. I love to hear feedback. And I hope you have the most amazing, magical, and fulfilling 2024. And remember, you are a gorgeous, sacred soul with a purpose and your own unique way of making the world a better place. And especially now in these crazy times, these just really tumultuous times, the more each of us remembers who we are and what we're here to do, each of our individual purposes, and unapologetically step into your most authentic, fully expressed version of yourself, the more we will make a difference in the world. And the world needs you. The world needs the way that you can make a difference. I will see you on the next episode. I'm sending you all my love from Australia. I'm about to head off to Bali in about a week. So I'll be doing my next podcast from there and just sending you so much love and so much energy for 2024. I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, I'd absolutely love if you left a review on iTunes. It really helps me to get the podcast out there to support more people just like you to create soulful lives. And as a thank you, I'd love to send you my 20 personal affirmations for manifesting an aligned, magical, and fulfilling life. To access this freebie, simply send a screenshot of your review to soulcraft@carmenmarshall.com, and I'll send you my favorite affirmations and mantras straight to your inbox. All my love, and I'll see you on the next episode.